Welcome back to The Watch, and we just watched The Flash. Well, right out of the gate, I didn't like it. How about you, Tyranth?
I have mixed feelings. There are parts that I really like, but I feel like, without any spoilers, because we'll get into that later, there's a big issue when the main character is talking about like saving people and justice and being a hero when he's such a trash person.
Yeah.
It's such a
For me, Ezra Miller ruined the film almost from the beginning, but even looking past it, the parts that could potentially be enjoyable, and you already know that Michael Keaton Batman is in this, right, are ruined for me because of the overall story and the final conclusion and where it leads to. I could not really describe a more pointless film than this. And this is pointless on two big issues. One is a bit spoilery, so I got to save the second one for the spoiler section. But the first one is, of course, this DC universe is ended. So it's going to have the same problems that the Shazam film ended. But the overall narrative is completely pointless as well. And I'll explain exactly why. There's a big objective reason why. And so as a result, I don't care about anything. And so, yeah, you get to see Michael Keaton, Batman kick some butt. And those are fun scenes, but with nothing holding it up to make you actually invested on for those scenes, they mean nothing. For me, like if you have the same issues as I do with this film, you would get probably more out of those scenes by watching them as YouTube clips disassociated from the film.
That's a fair point. However, I would probably be a little bit more charitable. So Ezra Miller's Flash this is the problem. Like the acting in the film was fine. I thought him communicating with I was fine with it.
I hated it. I wanted to slap like that. You saw the trailer, right? There shouldn't be a spoiler. There's two Flashes.
Yeah.
The other Flash, multiple times, I just wanted to shut up. You are acting like a mentally disabled, like arrested development moron.
That's the point. That was the point. I had other issues with it, like the CGI in this film
is dog crap.
It's not just bad. The CGI is very bad all throughout the film, but it's in unnecessary spots as well. There was a spot. This isn't really a spoiler. He was talking to himself in the Batjet, and he had the mask on, and it was CGI. And I thought it looked creepy because the CGI, I feel like the best way to describe it is like early 2015-16 rubber CGI.
Yeah, they
very
look like
rubbery
dolls. Like
yeah. So there was a scene where, like, obviously there's a whole bunch of CGI, but there was just one scene where I was like, why is this necessary? He had the cowl on talking to himself, and it just was CGI. I'm like, this looks terrible and creepy. I don't understand why. This is just a conversation. The CGI is very bad. Within the first, 10 minutes, there's a lot of ass shots. A lot of down... what I mean is, very down low, up at his ass for the first, 10 minutes of the film.
Really? I didn't notice that, but I couldn't help but not notice the actual ass shot that had that. That's the last thing you want to see, but of course, it's funny.
Yeah. In terms of the overall story, it's very much time travel,
pointless. It's pointless.
A lot of time travel, stories are pointless, to be honest. They all just are trying.
This is an absolute mess. On top of it,
the gist is very basic. You go back in time when you know you shouldn't. You break things, then you have to fix them. It's a very common storyline.
I'm getting more and more annoyed about this. And we could compare it to Back to the Future, but Back to the Future is much better because it was unintentional.
Right.
And then he just is trying to hold things together. I am getting so annoyed with stories that involve superheroes trying to solve problems that they have caused themselves. I can't stand that. You're supposed to be a superhero. You're supposed to be helping the world, not making it worse by being present in it.
I think I've seen a few people say that this is just like an Easter egg, a nostalgia baiting film, and it is
in the worst way.
To a degree that I didn't think was possible. To a degree where you're Easter egging and nostalgia baiting to something that didn't even exist. It gets to that level.
It's insane. And good nostalgia bait is stuff that has substance, right? And is giving something to the fans that they've been wanting for ages and everything. And the best example I can give of recent memory is Picard Season 3. Okay? There is nostalgia done perfectly in that, and I don't want to give spoilers for it, but it's beautiful and it has substance in the story. In this one, nearly every nostalgia thing is pointless in the end. Like when I said this is a pointless film, it is a pointless film. And so the big ones like Michael Keaton Batman is pointless. And then they just desperately, like this is some of the cheapest nostalgia bait I've ever seen, where they're so desperate, where they just grab random crap, spew it on the screen for a couple of seconds. It's like, oh, where's my keys? I need freaking keys. You like the, you like the thing, don't you? Here's the thing, and it means nothing. Yeah. Nothing.
I am getting tired of films. I do not like films or stories that end up where they started. I just don't, because then it's a waste of time. The whole story is a waste of time.
That is a bit of a spoiler.
Is it though? I mean, it's time travel, and it's the most basic time travel story ever.
Let's just jump into spoilers now, because
I'll give it a rating out of 10.
3 out of 10, but the more I think about it, the worse it gets.
I'd give it a 5. You know,
I think for like casual audiences, they probably would get maybe a 5-ish.
The issue I have with it is, I know that it's not like it's the end of the DCEU Snyderverse, so it's literally pointless.
It is.
At least with the
Completely
Shazam
pointless.
ones, I kind of enjoyed them. I was like, hey, I can enjoy the fun of it being a self-contained thing. This, I'm like, there are things in this. You know, I'm a big fan of Superman. Superman is probably my most favorite, superhero character ever. Yeah, probably Superman.
Really? Because I didn't know that. Superman is like one of my top.
I love Superman. And Henry Cavill Superman was really great. There was the Christopher Roth, the 2005, 2008 or something like Superman, the one that did Superman Returns Part 1 and 2.
Yeah. Hang on. I'm confused now.
There was the Christopher Roth?
Okay, the Superman Returns one. I didn't see him. Was he there?
No, he wasn't there.
Yeah.
But even him as a Superman, I enjoyed.
Yeah.
They did, he said this in the car. They did literally everything humanly imaginable except bring in Henry Cavill. And there's a lot of, this film doesn't have Superman in it. They have Supergirl. They have Kara Zor-El instead.
As a more primary character.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then they bring in all the Supermans you could possibly imagine. One.
Well,
obviously they're not going to bring in every single one.
When we say bring in, I don't really consider them bringing in. We see flashes of other Supermen, but we're getting into spoilers. Let's. So
we just gave our review.
Here's the warning. We're going to spoilers now. Full spoilers. Okay, so they give flashes of other Supermen. You see the black and white Superman.
Yep.
And when I say flashes, it's like the universe is falling apart. Flash looks up and he sees different universes, and you get a glimpse into that universe, and that's the level of interaction. They actually mean nothing in the story.
Yeah. Oh, in the story, nothing.
Yeah.
You get to see Christopher Reeves. They did a full CGI version.
It looked awful.
It did, just like all the other CGI in the film.
But I'm glad that they didn't forget Supergirl. We saw the class, but
Do you want to mention that Superman off the bat?
Yeah. They had what's his name?
Nicolas Cage.
The Nicolas Cage. When I say Superman, he was never Superman, but he was potentially cast as Superman in a cancelled film.
He did a few test fittings and stuff. They had that Superman.
And that film was going to be called Superman Lives, I think.
And they showed him like more than the others. It was weird.
Yeah.
Not because I liked it. I was like, oh, this is cool. I like seeing Nick Cage as Superman.
See, I get insulted by this type of bait. Because it's fun, but I know why they're doing it, and they're doing it manipulatively and cheaply,
I know.
and so screw you for doing it, and as a result, that's like negative points for the film.
I know, but we're not getting Henry Cavill. We're not getting the Superman that I want to see. So when I see some Superman, I'm like, oh, I like that Superman. But it was weird because it wasn't long, like maybe like 30, 40 seconds of screen time, but it felt unusually long, especially for a Superman that never was.
And it's just for nostalgia, babe. It's like, hey, you never saw him, but here he is here.
You never know. Maybe Superman Legacies in DC James Gunn, they might cast Nicolas Cage.
No,
I'm holding out hope for this.
No, they're going to cast someone young, and it's going to be controversial because it's DC. You just know whatever. When I was saying screw you to the creators, because I think this is so manipulative, and because that's really, I think, the only reason why people are going to be bothered to go watch it, because of Michael Keaton Batman. But I don't think it's worth it. It's not, because the overall problem with the film is that it's Barry Allen goes out of his way intentionally to do something which causes a big problem that he then needs to, and the whole purpose of the film is to reset it back to, and so it's pointless. They want the end of the film to be the same as the beginning, but the thing is, though, everything is still screwed up, because there's a different
Because
Batman.
he still did something he shouldn't have.
Yeah, and so there's like a gag at the end where his regular universe has a different Batman now.
One of the best Batman. George
And
Clooney
it's the
Batman.
George Clooney Batman replacing
Batfleck.
Ben Affleck. Which means everything is still screwed, basically.
Yeah.
But that's also the point of evidence that no one's getting replaced. This is a dead universe. Like nothing is being continued.
Well, it's more than that because he spends the whole film realizing he made a giant mistake going back in time and changing things. So he goes, the personal journeys, he realizes he has to let go of his mum. She has to die. So he goes back in time to fix that. But he doesn't actually fix it. He still changes it.
Yeah. He's still, like, he interacts with his mum and there's changes in the timeline.
And then his father gets set free, which wasn't supposed to happen. It's not a canon event.
That was bullcrap. So they arbitrarily say that there are certain things. It's when it's like, oh, you had an Alfred too? That means there are intersections in timelines that you just can't change.
It's a canon event, bro.
And it's just arbitrary nonsense for the writers to do what they want. Because then they tried to make that Batman dying and them losing the battle with Zod was a canon event and they could never change it. When, hang on, canon event, this timeline already is not, and they don't say canon, but it's like a set event, basically. This timeline is already bullcrap because Barry is in this timeline interacting with it and everything should be a mess. There should be nothing set in stone in these interactions.
Right. But you're reading too far into it. And basically, to get back to the original point, he doesn't learn anything. The whole point of personal journey, he still made the same mistake he made at the start of the film. And then he realizes at the end of the film, oh, you're not my Batman. Something's wrong. I've made a mistake again.
Oh, well.
Yeah. And then that's basically where it ends. I feel like this is where the Snyderverse has just ended.
Yeah, the Snyderverse is dead, completely dead. Nothing is going to be continued with it. Now, I want to talk a bit more on the biggest draw of the film, which is the, Michael Keaton Batman, and why it doesn't work for me. Okay, because it's such a big example of a square peg into a round hole, where they wanted the nostalgia bait, so they force it into a story that doesn't fit, doesn't make sense at all, and just every so much of the depiction of the classic Batman doesn't make sense because technically he does have a full timeline, and that timeline was changed. Well, with Barry Allen coming in, but the actor was changed, but that timeline technically still continued, and this should be the end of that timeline. And so they appear, but it has the Michael Keaton Batmobile there, which got destroyed in the film, and this is when he's an old man, and so it's already untrue to the canon of that Batman completely.
Yes.
Which annoyed me.
However, if I'm going to play devil's advocate here, they do explain in the film that if you go back to change something, different past and different future.
They're just trying to say it's all a mess and we can do what we want.
Yeah, that's basically just saying
But
look at me. I am the captain now.
But if you're going to do nostalgia, this is what people want. They want the actual true depiction of it, and they rob you of the true depiction of Batman for multiple levels. I'm getting so friggin' sick of the washed-up loser future for our heroes. And what do they do with the Michael Keaton Batman? He's a hobo.
Or if they kill your favorite hero as baby.
Yeah.
That also makes me very upset.
To me, this is unforgivable, right? If you're going to watch this for nostalgia, they actually do assassinate several beloved things. You think they're giving, fan service to this Batman? He's a washed-up hobo loser that they make look like a joke in his introduction, where he's trying to fight them as a hobo, and he then goes with the broom, and Barry moves, and instead of doing the Batman flip and he's back on his feet, he goes headfirst into a thing, and it's a joke.
The only justification for it is that he says Gotham is safe. So his job is done.
Yeah, so why isn't he married and living a happy life? Why does he have to be a washed-up loser? Because our heroes can't have happy endings.
My only answer to that is simple. Batman's Batman, and not everybody has a happy ending.
But we want our heroes to have happy endings. That's why I feel insulted and robbed. Because this should be the happy ending for the Batman. Why isn't he champion, top of the world? Gotham is saved, and he succeeded in his mission, and then he came to terms with his dark past, and he has a family, but then now there's a new crisis, and he still believes in the ideals he had before and is going to help regardless and risk his life for it. And then guess what? That's our heroes doing what we want them to see, which is overcoming their own selfishness and other things. And it's the classic Spider-Man, great power, great responsibility, where the core ideal of a superhero is to sacrifice your own life for the safety of others, for justice, truth, American way, all that great stuff, right? And so it would have worked much better for the narrative to have him risk a good life in helping out Barry Allen. Instead, he has no life.
I think the bigger issue is you got to look at it before he came to the universe and made his own Flash in that universe, Zod was still coming, Kal-El was still dead, Michael Keaton, Batman was still not Batman, so that world was going to end.
Yeah, that world was screwed.
Yeah, and he left it, so that world is still screwed.
And he didn't save it. Yeah,
he didn't save that world at all. So
he made it worse.
So Michael Keaton's Batman world is
dead.
Canon.
Again. Like, they are assassinated. For the nostalgia, they square peg, round hole, and then they basically piss on it and ruin your characters. Even though he gets some cool action scenes and you get to see him kick ass, which is fun. That's why I feel it's robbed in the overall story, and you get more out of it just by watching its self-contained videos. Because when you look at the overall thing, that universe is dead. That Batman is dead.
Yep.
And also, just the implementation of that universe is stupid. Like, that universe is basically supposed to be a universe where he's the only superhero, basically. Or you could take it that he exists in the Christopher Reeve Superman universe, which I would have liked that as well. Their interpretation of it is that it's this weird mesh where parts of the Snyderverse canon is forced into his one, where Zod is invading, and it's the Man of Steel, Superman Zod, and it just does not fit. But the film is trying to say that this is the universe. These Michael Keaton Batman and Man of Steel Zod exist in that same universe. And I'm like, bull crap.
There is a lot of that sort of stuff going on, a lot of different meshes of the universe, lots of nostalgia bait. Story is very basic, and then the problem is even when he learns lessons, he doesn't learn the lessons. So you start off where you end where you start off, doesn't learn anything, and then on top of that, you have the actor who is. I just take issue with someone who's like playing a superhero,
who's an awful person,
because it breaks your suspension. It's like you're sitting there talking about like saving all these people, and doing all this. It's like
every single scene where he was trying to be, heartfelt and stuff like that felt completely fake and hollow, because you're looking at a disgusting person, like a truly disgusting person. And then on top of that, I hate his depiction of Flash. Like, completely so. And then, unbelievably, we get a more retarded version of that Flash in his younger self, who are, like, multiple times I just wanted to hit that younger version. He's literally acting like a mentally deficient moron. I'm doing all this. I just like, shut up! Gosh!
Or as they're called, teenagers.
No. This is a mentally deficient teenager.
There's a lot of those shots.
No. This is truly. It's hard for me to believe someone could be this retarded without being legitimately mentally disabled. Right. It's that level of stupid for his younger self character. And so I hated that as well. And so all the interactions with those Flashes were just awful, and it's throughout the whole film. And so,
he also loses his powers temporarily. I always hate that trope so much.
Yep.
I hate that trope. He gets them back, obviously, because that's the trope too.
He needs the powers back. Yep.
It turns out the main villain, I guess, is himself, the one that he creates.
And look, I didn't think that was a terrible idea. I think that's actually something that you could work with it, but it's based on this younger self who I hate so much. And so, but also the other problem is the reveal that, the younger self is the evil version and everything. Is he the villain? Is he not? He didn't cause the problem. The original Barry caused the problem. Yep. And the original Barry's conclusion of it is to let the universe die.
That he came from.
Yeah, and so the villain actually wanted to save his universe, as you would logically want them to do, the hero, and that's depicted as the bad thing. So the morality of this film
There-
is completely reversed as well.
There is also the subtle undertext of like, you got to let go. You gotta just move on.
Mhm.
And this is the last Snyderverse movie. Like there's a
there's a meta narrative there.
there is. And I was like, right, okay, yeah, sure.
So this film doesn't have a happy ending. They do like the actual story is Michael Keaton universe is dead. His Batman is dead.
Oh,
And the universe is dead. And
well, it actually doesn't have an happy ending. Even though Barry gets his father off, you realize that he's still not in the right place. So it literally does not have an happy ending. Because that's why he's like with Aquaman and that terrible little scene, like, hey, I got to get back. I'm telling you all these things. It's like, it's still not a happy ending.
So,
and the lady on the way out. So there was a lady sitting in front of us who stayed for the final end scene as well. She said to you, she's like, oh, I thought that was going to lead into something.
It doesn't. It's just nothing. It doesn't lead anywhere. And so this film, like I said, is so pointless. And then it doesn't even have a proper ending where anything is really achieved. It's just to reset things, even though we saw another universe basically get destroyed. Well, the bad guy wins. Zod wins in that universe. And when we see like the other universes, like the Christopher Reeve Superman one, I was like, they're basically showing that universe get destroyed. But when they kind of
then they stop.
And stop, and the universes stop colliding and they're back together. But still, it's just like you're almost basically showing us these other nostalgia bait things to see the world die.
The craziest thing I took from this entire film is seeing Nicolas Cage as Superman. I want Nicolas Cage Superman movie, Shad. I want it now. I want it now.
We'll never get it.
We're
gonna get some regurgitated.
Think about it, Shad. Think about it. Why would they go to all the trouble to making a Nicolas Cage Superman cameo when he never even played Superman? So a lot of people wouldn't even know about it. And then they showed it for like 40 seconds. This might be a conspiracy theory here, but I think they're going to do something. I'm holding out. Look at me, Shad. I'm holding out hope, Shad.
How dare they if they do? Because you know the reason why they got rid of Henry Cavill? He was too old. Yeah. And to replace him with someone older? Are you kidding me? Like, no, if they do that, the gall, how friggin' dare they?
But the Henry Cavill thing is interesting because it comes off throughout the entire film. Like, they will do absolutely anything, no matter what it is, to not have to include Henry Cavill.
Yeah.
They'll show his silhouette. They'll show him doing things. They'll talk about Kal-El. They'll talk about killing him as a baby. All these different things, but they will not for 1 second show him. They'll show Batfleck and Wonder Woman and Jason Momoa. Yep. They'll show everybody else, but they won't show Henry Cavill. That I don't like this.
Yeah, they did Henry dirty, and then of course, they do show all these other Superman, the black and white Superman. Christopher Reeve, even one that didn't even play it.
Never even existed.
But not Henry Cavill.
Yeah, not once.
It's awful. So Supergirl. When I say she wasn't awful, like you could understand her basic motivations. She still dies, by the way. Like
multiple times.
I hated the depiction in the outfit. I love classic Supergirl, and so I got nothing out of that.
The thing that I took, she wasn't even really in the film that much. Yeah. She really wasn't. They saved her. She obviously didn't do anything during that.
Yeah.
Then she did some fight scenes. Then she stood in the sun and left.
She lifted Barry up to get struck by lightning to get the power.
And then she gets killed by Zod.
She gets killed. Yeah. Again, pointless.
But she really wasn't in the film that much, honestly.
How I said this is square peg into a round hole? It's like they want some type of age. Supergirl's in this one, right? And she had such a pointless element of the film. Like the entire timeline of her, Supergirl, and Michael Keaton Batman it didn't go anywhere. They didn't save it. It just makes the film worse.
You just reminded me of something really important. So in the original Man of Steel, Superman is the last son of Krypton, last natural born son of Krypton, and he is infused with the codex for his DNA. That's why Zod is after him. Mm-hmm. In this universe, Kara Zor-El has the codex, which doesn't make sense.
Because she was born so much before when any of that needed to happen.
And Kal-El was still the last son of Krypton, because that's what she calls him in the film.
Yep.
But he didn't have the codex. General Zod kills him as a baby. I was like, this don't make sense.
This is the exact same objection I have with, again, the classic Batmobile in there, where they're appealing to canon, and then they just like, screw canon, we'll do whatever we want. Like, and again, this is shows that this is a truly cheap, disingenuous use of nostalgia and bait and all that, because they're not even being true and to that canon and timeline. And so I genuinely don't get sucked in by this nostalgia. It is not worthy of your time or attention. In fact, it is cheap manipulation to just get butts in seats with no true respect given to the source material and no satisfying payoff. It is just there to take advantage of you, to get your money, and it's a pointless experience. It's a garbage film.
I feel like we've said this before. Just don't do time travel. It's very hard to do. People very rarely pull it off, and it always just makes things worse.
Only with incompetent writers. I love time travel as a trope and it can be done right, but
more often than not, it is done terribly.
Well, if you don't have the talent to handle it right, avoid at all costs. I agree, because it ruins so much, and it's just a mess. Like the logic that they try to explain, the reality. Like there's this scene with pasta and spaghetti and things, and it's gobbledygook nonsense for them to just pseudo-intellectually justify the bullcrap that's happening.
People are probably like, they try to explain time travel with pasta. Yeah, Batman explains time travel with pasta.
Yeah, and for some reason he just knows how it works according to their bullcrap reasoning, and it's in line with the bullcrap that's happening, and it's just so stupid.
Yeah, is that everything? I think that's everything.
That's basically everything. This is an awful film. The more I think about it, the more I hate it. And it's not worthy of your time.
Well, I mean,
if you want the nostalgia, go watch it, of course.
If it leads nowhere,
it leads nowhere. Point? Yeah, like watch highlight clips and you'll get more out of it, and you'll see Batman kick some butt, and that's the amount of value you'll get.
Yeah. You want to take it out?
There we go. We'll see you next time. As always, stay on.